If you could just tell us where you were born and raised, and tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Born in the small borough of West Easton, which is about 75 miles north of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Um, I would say a normal first generation American. Father was from Poland. He came over here at the age of 16 by himself. My mother was born here, and I had two siblings, sisters, one older, one younger. In the home, my father wanted to learn English, so that English was his language spoken at the home. So I know very little Polish. It was a normal childhood. Went to public school, even though there was a church right across the street from where we lived. Public school was right across the street, another building. So it was my grandmother, who was Slovak, lived 2 doors away from us, and it was a very close family relationship.
Excellent. Your sound okay?
I'm good.
We're not getting overridden by anything?
Nope.
All right, fantastic. My father was from Poland also.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's unusual.
Yeah. Except he was about 75 miles west. He grew up in Jersey City.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so was there any history of military service in your family? Obviously, your father came here at 16.
No.
No history. Okay, good.
I had an uncle in the German army,
Yeah?
World War One.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I don't know too much about it, except when my grandfather came over from somewhere in Czechoslovakia, which became Czechoslovakia. They had one child. He and his wife had one child, an infant. It was only a few weeks old, I guess. It's a few months old. And they were living with my grandfather's parents on a farm in Poland, not Poland, Slovak, whatever that country was at that time. And as I understand the story that I got from everybody, that my grandfather's parents would not permit the wife to go, they would not permit the child to be taken with them. So my grandmother stayed in the country, and my grandfather came to the United States, and anyway, so that his wife finally came over, but I had to leave the child in the old country. And they then proceeded to have a family, which was at least 7 children, who never knew about the other siblings. And so after World War One, he made an application to come to the United States. And by that time, the siblings were adults and had this new brother. So there was some tension, I understand, from my cousins. The father was not accepted too well, with the exception of a few of the siblings that were born in the United States.
So where did you do your training for the service, and what unit were you assigned to?
I did training for, I was drafted, went to Wilkes-Barre, then was assigned to, because I could type, assigned to a unit in Cumberland, Pennsylvania. And from there to Fort Blanding in Florida.
And when did you get your deployment orders, and where did you go?
Deployment happened about a month before the war was over, August 15th. And we were transported to California and embarked on SS Meter. We were going to, the war was still on yet. And we were we crossed international dateline on the 16th of August. Would have been the 15th of August back across the other side of the line. And we landed finally in Leyte in Philippines. And then from there to Mori, Japan, and we were first occupational troops in that section of Japan.
So when you were deployed, you still had no idea the war was actually going to come to an end soon, or was there signs that it was going to end?
When we crossed the international dateline, August 16th, the war was over on the 15th, the same day. But for us, and you sell it when you go over the international dateline. There's always a big celebration, but here it was the end of the war. Also, people jumping overboard, swimming in the ocean, helmets going in the ocean until everybody got settled.
Yeah, it had to be a great feeling thinking you were going to war and finding out that you were just going.
And being 18, we're naive to think enough to think that the boat was going to turn around and go back to California. But we kept going westward.
Let's go back for a minute and have the exact opposite. On December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, where were you, and how did that moment affect you, and would you remember that day?
My grandmother my mother's mother lived 2 doors away from us. And it was Sunday afternoon. I was over there listening to the radio with my aunts, and what was bombing occurred or whatnot, the story. And how did it affect me? Well, in high school, going into high school, I remember the principal announcing that this whole class will be in the Army or Navy, something, before this is over. So the thought of going there was from 41 until, let's see, 1. Well, it was a couple of years anyway. Yeah, I was a freshman, so it was 2 years more. And I wrote an essay entitled "For This We Fight." And when I was graduating, a few weeks later, they showed me.
So now moving forward, war is over. Everybody's jumping into the water and enjoying themselves.
Yes.
You're still heading for Japan.
We didn't know where, but we landed in Leyte, Philippines. And we're there for maybe a month and a half or so. And again, because I could type, I was put in the headquarters there. And then up on the boat, climbed up on the side of the boat with a rope, with the pack on your back, which I never thought I would be able to do, but we did. And headed right to Japan, Mori, Japan.
Talk about a little bit about what you were doing in Japan. So the bombs had just recently dropped, only a month or so ago. What was it like on the ground for you when you were in Japan? And what were you doing?
In Mori, Japan, which is the northernmost part of the largest island of Japan. And by that time it was winter already there. And living in a Quonset hut. And the snow started, and we had to dig trenches from the barracks area to the mess hall. Not trenches in snow, because the snow was at that time over tunnels practically to the dining hall. And again, I could type, and I was assigned right to headquarters.
So what other? How long were you on Japan in Japan for? And what were some of the other activities that you were doing once you were in there?
Well, we were in the northern part of Japan for 3 or 4 months, maybe 4 months or so. And the civilian population started coming back from the mountains, the women and the elderly people. And one interesting story, I was in headquarters company. It was city hall of that area. And after a couple of months or so, General Mueller decided that we needed some women there to clean. And communication was that great, and a number of geisha girls came, dressed up in the kimonos and all that. And no, women sweep. So that was corrected, but that was interesting. And
How was it? Oh, sorry.
And then from there, I was transferred to a headquarter company in 8th Army, 81st Division in Yokohama, and was involved in processing GIs to return to the States and to be discharged. And we would process, we would get orders around 4 o'clock in the afternoon or so that 250 people have to be processed tomorrow. So we had to get the orders written and whatnot. And that's primarily what I did in Japan. Worked with the headquarters, processing GIs for discharge in the States.
How were the Japanese people to you and other GIs that were on the ground?
From my observation, what they treated me, and my observation was they were always very polite. And actually, I think we returned to that. My observation was that the people I saw were very polite to the Japanese civilians anyway. The civilians, and I really think that what the occupational forces did there, we were conquerors, but we didn't act as conquerors. We acted just like human beings. I really think that the way the occupation forces act may be the root of the present situation between Japanese and Americans. Because when we first arrived there, they were victims of propaganda that we were monsters. But when we left, we were not. We were friends. And I think that may be even the beginning of the change of their opinion from monsters to friends. It took them 50, 100 years, but that's my opinion on it.
Some people have started to question whether the Americans should have dropped nuclear weapons on Japan. As somebody that would have likely been on one of the invasion waves, what's your thoughts on that?
I think Truman made the right decision to invade Japan would have cost I don't know how many American lives, and how long it would go on. I think a lot of American lives were saved by that dropping of that bomb, and got the Japanese to quit.
Is there anything in your military career that has guided you through your personal or professional life, something that you learned in the military that helped you?
I think the self-discipline, the discipline, the world experience of, and seeing other cultures and having respect for it. And I began to polish my shoes this morning, yesterday, for the first time in some career. My daughter says, why are you polishing your shoes? And I said, well, in the military you learn you polish your shoes before you go into anything important. So that's what I did. I think the self-discipline and the neatness.
So after World War II, how long were you in the service for?
I guess it was 24 months or 22 months.
So after World War II, so you left the service. What career did you go to?
Well, when I was drafted, I was just finishing for the second semester of the freshman year of Temple University. When I came back, I resumed that. And finished that 4 years, and then went to law school and finished law school.
So you went to law?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe Margaret said that you were in law practice with your wife.
My wife was in law practice with me for a few weeks. I had a very emotional partner. I had two partners. Emotionally, very bombastic. We swear a lot. And Peg had about maybe a month and a half of that. And said, "That's not for me." So went on her own. Then became an assistant public defender for 10 years.
A lot of people often call your generation the greatest generation.
Yeah.
If you had to give advice to a young person today, something that you might have learned during your career, whether in the military or after, what would you want that young person to know?
I wanted to have a love of the country, a pride of the country, and hard work, discipline, and be thankful for what we have, which is very, very unusual and very great. Living here and being having the democracy that we have, that we hope we continue under the.
Let me just add one more question. How do you see the values in today's society compared to the pre and post World War II generation?
Well, society has improved as far as relationships are concerned, racial relationships. We have those Martin Luther King that we shall overcome, and I think we have almost overcome. The sexually revolution, Me Too and all that has changed society tremendously. And I think for the good. Progress is, a lot of people don't say it's not progress, but I think it's progress. Relationships especially in progress. And I think they're swinging back to the more conservative rather than the 60s. What happened in the 60s was strange. But
what do you think about American patriotism today versus when you first came up?
Well, this morning I got tears in my eyes upstairs in that presentation today. And I think that's the basic America. even all the hullabaloo that goes on. But I think down deep, people are good. We went to a show last night. Dear Evan Hansen, very powerful and described what life was like. What life was, or is, because even though it swings one way or the other at times, but I think basically people are good.
You mind if I ask one more military-based question? Technology has changed the way wars have been fought dramatically since you were in the service. Do you see these as positive changes, or do you see them as potentially, world-altering in even more dramatic ways?
I think they can be much more dramatically changing in any conflict kind of situation could occur. But that change could be for the good, deterring action. But also, if the action is assumed, this could be horrible. But that technology changes in civil life, civic life also. And the law business before was Perry Mason type thing. But you can't have this Perry Mason today.
Need a bigger briefcase.
Hmm?
You would need a bigger briefcase.
No, we have depositions and what you can't pull as many surprises as in the early years when I first was admitted.